First off, for the people that actually watch these, I will be streaming Kamen Rider Battle Ride War Genesis on Saturday, March 5th, just to give people a bit of heads up on that, and specifying the date, simply so as people who actually bother to watch this later will know you kind of missed out on that. I know play videos are up there, but I want to discuss some things about the game and have an open chat discussion for things on the Kamen Rider front for anyone that's interested in that kind of thing. Anyways, to this week's actual episodes. Zyuohger. I gotta admit, I'm still liking the show thus far, because the cast doesn't seem insufferable, just quirky so far. I keep saying it might change, because I don't have high standards for the show right now. But, we are getting a bit into over-focusing on the red. Now, this week it was mostly justifiable, considering it's continuing the thing with, Yamato and the other Zyumen getting to know the world. And this week it was with Amu, the White Tiger, and how she's kind of like enthralled by the human world and is so more invested in seeing it and experiencing it than she is trying to find the last champion's key to get home. And I say it's kind of getting the overfocus on the red thing, because in this episode, Yamato, for some reason I want to keep saying Takaru, but that would be weird to have two Takarus at the same time on in two adjacent Toei blocks. I don't know why that is. But, I say it's getting a bit of that in, because Yamato starts, developing Hawk-like abilities, like far range and enhanced perception, which I feel should have been, I guess, held off until there was really an episode focusing on him, since, the character-focused episode is actually supposed to focus on the character of the person that's taking the focus in the episode, and that is Amu, because all the Zyumen needed a bit more than Yamato does, since he technically already got some of that in the first episode, and also in the second, to establish his character alongside the rest of them, and also Tusk last time. I guess since, it's mostly justifiable since he's the normal one amongst the aliens, and by alien I mean they're not native to Earth aliens, versus, the aliens that are invading the planet. But, it for the most part does that, which is why I'm not irritated about that. It's, it just feels like you're crossing the streams a bit on it. I honestly don't have that much to say aside from that, because most of it is kind of quirky joking around with how Amu's more focused on that than trying to find the thing that'll get her home. And the reason I kind of bring that kind of thing up is because it doesn't really give a clear reason why Amu does not want to go home, aside from, seeing all this new stuff. And I guess the whole curiosity killed the cat joke is applicable here. And it just seems comparatively shallow, and they did have the time to do that in the episode. Maybe we'll get more of it ongoing, because it kind of is building a semblance of a subplot with her, in that Yamato tries to encourage her to continue looking into this stuff as a motivator to get her back to searching for the champion symbol, King's Key, whatever we're calling it. The overtime is screwing with me versus what I expect from the translations. They've been getting really weird with the renames in Ghost, which they're not supposed to be doing in the first place. But yeah, we see a bit of versatility with the cast here, in that while it's not critical red taking over the show. And I keep wanting to stress this, because it's beginning to seep in there. I'm noticing that there's a bit of solo focusing, but not everyone's being neglected, so I don't even know what I'm trying to say at this point. I'm being cautious of it, because Ninja didn't start off completely terribly. It just dropped suddenly, and I was suddenly struck with the realization I hate this show, and I don't want that to happen with Zyuohger, or at least blindside me with that, because I legitimately like what's going on here. I just have, intermediary critiques. But the thing with Yamamoto's sight being enhanced is it allows him to find another cube, which eventually reveals itself to be the cube Kirin, which is the cube giraffe. I, for some reason, expected something completely different from the description of Kirin, because the Kirin is kind of a mythical animal, and it's a giraffe, and that was unexpected on my behalf. So, but yeah, they encounter it through Yamamoto's sight suddenly enhanced, and seeing a pair with it, and they go to get it back from them, which they do amazingly easily without any real understanding of where they got it, aside from they found it. So there's not exactly a clue to what might actually have the champion symbol there, but at least they got a weapon for the mech in a way that makes sense for it suddenly appearing out of nowhere, because it literally did come out of nowhere, and they're calling the show out on that. Yes, I think that actually works narratively for why you get a power-up out of nowhere. Tusk, Sela, and Leo spend most of the episode fighting the monster of the week, who is hunter-based, and they're stuck on their own doing this because Yamamoto and Amu are, off doing the, I should actually comment on that a bit. Amu seemed kind of, I guess, ditzy for what they were trying to do with her fascination and disregard for actually wanting to go home here, in that they kind of did a girl trope where she dragged Yamato all over the place just shopping because she saw something she liked and didn't realize that, the normal human has to pay for all of this stuff. I'm pretty sure that from what we saw of the Zuman world, that you guys had barter, or so exchanges for goods and services, and I think she did that in the last episode too. So I think reminding her that there's this kind of thing, you need to exchange things for goods and services. You need to have something of equivalence, or a commonly considered. We know they are civilized. We've seen the flashbacks and a bit of their civilization. We know that she has to know this, and that's kind of what I. Lost my track of thought. Sorry, I've had a long day. Oh, where was I? Right, Leo, Sela, and Tusk. While it was more focused on Amu and Yamato, it still showed them as competent, as resourceful, and not quite as adept at what their abilities are as we might have believed, because they never tried calling Amu and Yamato on the transformation cubes, which double as cell phones. And it's lampshaded later on, which I thought was a legitimately funny joke, because, they're not used to this either. So it is addressing something of a critique from a previous episode where they instantly knew how to use their powers and abilities in a fight. And I guess we get that covered with instincts for the most part, or basic instructions given to them with the various devices, which they don't know, they haven't established the intricacies of, and they're lampshading that now, which I liked. I also really liked the mecha fight scene. One of my big issues with Ninja, and to a lesser extent Tokuger last year, was how pretty much bad the fight scenes were, in that it was pretty much form Megazord, form Greater Mech, establishing shots, and then kill it with very little investment or anything. And here they made an actual the monster actually got one up on the mechs before they got into the Zeo King formation, and then the monster trumped the Megazord by trapping it in debris so that they could legitimately show off the changing combination system for the cube mechs and how, well, I shouldn't say how, continuing to showcase how when they're in cube mode, they're more resilient than in any other formation, because that's how they end up defeating it. They switch performance modes with ease, even when they might not be able to. And also shows that Zio King combined with Tusk and Amu's personal mechs is faster than normal Zio King with Sella and Leo's mechs. And this is, of course, when Yamamoto gets the cube keyring out to form the cannon for it. And this, I think, it worked narratively. It is a mistake with respect to the greater show, in that, once again, it's very early in the show and you're already introducing the auxiliary mecha, when you haven't really built a status quo and are still establishing the status quo. You really, really should be waiting until, at minimum, the 6th episode. I mean, yeah, Gokaiger... Admittedly, Gokaiger did this in its 4th episode with Maji... No, 3rd... Okay, first one was introduction. Second one was establishing why they're doing that. Third one was looking for the... Okay, yeah, they did do Magic Dragon in the 3rd episode. I'm totally mistaken on that. I guess it has to do with the better pacing. They had established things, and the first mech's acquisition in the 3rd episode was part of establishing the status quo. This isn't... Okay, yeah, I guess it is a bit comparable to Gokaiger, as it is part of setting the status quo of they need to find this other zoo animal stuff, and... This is sometimes helping me, letting me talk this stuff out helps a lot in correcting some of my own opinions. It's why I've decided to like doing these vlogs, as it gets it out of my head and regurgitates it. Okay, so yeah, another one of my issues, counter by talking out. I think that's all I have for Zyuohger, so on to Ghost. Ghost is getting the Paint Ganma as a regular. I am totally 100% okay with this. It's finally getting a another homage to past Kamen Rider in for an anniversary season, specifically with the Whale Mutant and Mole Beastman from Kamen Riders Black and Amazon, respectively. An enemy from the evil faction that's not actually evil, being recruited to the side of the good guys through showing him kindness and friendship. I don't really count Ankh for that, because he was one of the main cast from the beginning of the show. I don't count Hajime from Blade for that, because that's a bit of a convoluted thing. I don't really count monsters that become writers for this, as they are main cast, whereas this is secondary supporting, and, you know, turning an enemy that wasn't really an enemy into an ally. There's a divergence on that. I admittedly like when the potential monsters become writers to show that they're not actually monsters. It's a different specific thing than what I was enjoying so much about seeing this, to be clear. And it's more continuing what the Ganma are in this whole conflict, and how they're not really malicious by design. It's that they've been influenced and indoctrinated and programmed to be like this, and this invasion is being caused by the higher-ups, specifically the royal family, which Aron, yes, his name is Aron, not Elaine. Why why has that been respelled like that? I would legitimately like an explanation for that, because that's not how they pronounce it in the show. And seriously, if it's an English thing, current Toei English is quite bad. Seriously, they did a English text blurb that says Gamma. What is a Gamma? Ganma are a portmanteau of Genma. Genma. Ganma and Ganma. Gan because I hate English. Lost track of my train of thought again. But yeah, it's more exploring why the painter Ganma paints things. And I know he's called the Paint Ganma. I keep doing that because painter sounds more... It's because it's describing the process of what he's doing. He's painting things. He is a painter versus Paint Ganma infers he is made of paint or turns things into paints, and he paints things and then they become the paintings. And off track again. And it's pretty much a this specific Ganma was turned into this form for a job and forced to do it, but as he did it, due to the artifacts he was combined with, he actually started to enjoy it and wanted to do it more and more. It became his obsession. And it's admittedly benign obsession, but it kind of informs why a bunch of the previous Ganma were kind of over-involved in their specialty. Fusing with these artifacts causes an obsession, I guess. I might have iterated some of this last week, too. But yeah, end of the episode. Because Takeru saved him from being destroyed by Igor earlier in the episode, he does the same when Aran orders Spectre to attack and kill him. Admittedly, that wouldn't actually kill Takeru because he's dead. We've established this. He's effectively immortal until his time limit expires. There's no getting around this. So, intellectually, we know that Takeru letting himself be fired on by Makoto while he's possessed is just a... it's not an empty gesture, but we know intellectually it's not actually going to kill him. So there's admittedly some weakened impact of the Painter Ganma returning in favor of Takeru saving his life by him doing the same. But it's still meaningful because of the whole arguments Alron and Takeru have been having about what is the meaning of friendship, what is a healthy relationship with other people, in that it's give and take. It's not all take and demand by one side. It's a two-way street, and you have to try and connect to and understand the other, and he's not. So, the Paint Ganma defying him in this way shows that even the smallest kindness and showcasing of this respect can make people go above and beyond what you expect of them, because the Ganma was pretty much going to be eliminated by Igor as he served his usefulness in this subplot involving Thane Camus, which I am really looking forward to seeing developed, since it seemed he appeared in this episode too, and it's not even at the end of this, it's like part of a story arc, and I'm really looking forward to how that's going to be going, because I'm really big fan of that actor, even though I've only seen him in two other things. But because of the Paint Ganma's actions, Takeru gains the resolve to actually go and face down Necrom Spectre without even transforming. And it's pretty awesome how he dodges all of Necrom Spectre's attacks to restrain him, so he, Kanon, and Makoto's ghost icons can free him from Spectre's grasp. And in doing so, Nobunaga, Houdini, and Tutankhamun all all submit their approval to Takeru for his force of will, camaraderie, and all this other stuff with respect to helping the one who's earned their respect over time. I guess it's not exactly. It's pretty rushed, all things considered, but that's just another 3 Ganma, not Ganma, ghost icons down, meaning I think he's gotten at least half of them to grant their respect. I mean, he uses Musashi in Toku Boost in this episode, which I was excited to finally see happen, and yes, it was as awesome as I thought. So, he has Musashi, he has Newton, Himiko, not Sanzo, which one's the Kubiki one? Goemon has the Arms one, Benkei. Robin Hood, he does not have Edison. Has not done Billy, has not done Beethoven. It's not done Grimm or Sanzo. So, yeah, I want to say he has about half of them gained the respect of them by now. But that's probably going to be rushed very soon, or at least addressed immediately after, because the super form is coming up, Grateful Damashi. And, that's, I guess, since he still has 69 days as of the end of this episode, because, 68 days, depending on how the time tracks in the episode, it might be that after he activates Grateful, that he'll continue doing it through all of the remaining icons, so that before Mugen Damashi appears in the early 30s, that he'll finally have realized that. I'm hoping, because, it might be wise to put that plot aside before you get into the big Ganma stuff through the final third of the show. I'm just musing here. What we finally get, however, is something we needed a long time ago. Confirmation that Makoto is actually a specter. It's in the name, but it wasn't. We weren't sure at that time if it was an actual use of the name, or just because they couldn't have a second Kamen Rider Ghost specifically in the show. In that, excuse me. In that Makoto is having an out-of-body experience. His spirit form is in the real world, his physical body is in the Ganma world, so he doesn't actually exist here at the moment. And this is something we needed a while ago. We really, really needed a while ago, and it's kind of a problem we saw with Ninja 2, in that they're dropping these story development bombs at the end of an episode, and throughout the main episode, not really giving the time to actually explore and develop them as the focus of the story. At least currently, the stories are actually involving the development of the Ganma, so I can't technically complain about it. It's just a general critique of the show, in that there's more plot there than what we are getting, like the Saionji thing. We didn't get his story at all, and he seemed to be a driving force in the first arc of the show, because he was the one that was helping get all the ghost icons created for this wish. And what was his plan? What was his motivation? He had a backstory with Takeru's father. We barely got touched on it, and he died. So there is no more story for him. And I don't want to see that happen with the rest of the main cast. I want to see their development. I want to see an episode that is actually focused on this, and even through fighting a monster, I want it out in the open. You're not really developing the story if you're preventing these parts that inform the story and get expanded upon it to not be shown or not Still like Ghost, for the record. It's just, there are ways to tell your story which aren't exactly being followed very well. Well, okay, if you're trying to do the mystery angle and you're teasing these parts of the story, that's fine, but Ghost isn't exactly teased as a mystery story. It's an adventure story that's trying to explore all these other things, and since it's split itself too many ways by focusing, I guess, on what could have been what should more be a subplot in the unification of these people under the banner with of an individual with passion and charisma, that'd be better, I think, as a subplot, in that it's character development and recognition of the proper, I guess I shouldn't say ruler, but Takeru's development into his own illuminary, as the subs like to refer to as the heroic ghost icons. People who had their lives burning bright, to use Takeru's expression, as they are developing that way. It's just that there's so many other threads, and I'm guessing the reason why they're kind of putting heavy-handing it is because of what happened with Guy. They tried to do that with Kota, except because the story was focused on the main story so much that that subplot was not something a lot of people saw or actually actively realized was going on, and so they kind of dismissed Kota as being the actual one to put the conflict to its end, and thus his decision at the end of the show to actually become the overlord to get the Helheim the hell off the planet was seen as a cop-out for this situation. I admit it kind of was, but at least they developed Kota's character to the point you could, if you actually bothered to understand it. I guess, I know, people have legitimate critiques with it. I'm not trying to discredit that right now. I'm just saying I didn't get that from that story. Which is probably what... I'm betting a lot of other people didn't get that opinion of it either, which is why they're hitting it so heavy. This is just me speculating, by the way. I'm not calling anybody out for that. It's just trends I see. But yeah, that's it for me with Ghost. Other update stuff. Working on the Black Reduxes. I've got most of them recorded, and we'll be editing them next week. I've got another heavy at work versus doing work here work. I refer to work and work as the same thing, so yeah. And those will be up hopefully end of the month. I'm not entirely certain on my re-release schedule for all of that, but bear with me. I will hopefully have all of my old videos either reduxed or re-uploaded middle of April. I don't know, with the state of Toei Content ID and crap like that, more stuff might go down. I'm ballparking it at this point. Thank you for watching. I will see you all next week.